Blessings in the lessons of my adolescence. To shedding pests when wrapped in a peasant. To added lessons in the blessings of unwrapping my presence. This is an infinite synchronous of an endless kiss from different lips. Reflections of endless testing. Reverend by those that know the cracks in the road, cracking the code, facts in the scrolls. I'm not housebroken. Shit everywhere it is outspoken. Living in everything since light crash with darkness and a big bang. Ain't shit changed. We're going to stay in the energy of Mother's Day and just that divine feminine creation energy. So the topic of today is raising a man. And I'm going to share with you some lines where I had certain doubts or certain fears or certain things that I thought other mothers may be able to relate with. And I wanted to share and kind of break down the thought process, you know? So the first lines that I'm going to share is from a poem of mine called Heavy Heart, Part 2. And it's a 3-part kind of a series of a poem where I talk about different difficulties in life that caused me to have a heavy heart. And the purpose of it is to release a heavy heart is how we find freedom, how we find healing. So I say, I'm aware of my own worst enemy. So I'm not looking for single mother sympathy. And I'd be lying if I said it wasn't hindering, enduring, or worrying. And where would the knowledge stem from to raise a man when I've never been one? Plus, I'm questioning sanity, observing humanity with dazed eyes, fused with vanity, looking like mannequins ran by the Vatican, asking then, will I ever be able to raise a Luke when his daddy's an Anakin? So let's talk about it. The first couple lines, I say, I'm aware of my own worst enemy. So I'm not looking for single mother sympathy. I'd be lying if I said it wasn't hindering, enduring the worrying of where would the knowledge stem from to raise a man when I've never been one. So hindering, let's talk about that word first, because that's the big point in bringing this all together in that beginning part of the piece. Hindering is to like hold back. It's almost like a weight on something. It is a blockage. It is literally hindering you from growth, from success, from accomplishing. And worrying is a big part of the lack of growth. And especially when it comes to something like that, because you can only control what you can change. You know what I mean? I cannot change being a woman. So why worry about how being a woman can help or not help my son become a man? All I can do is put him in situations amongst men to help him, or just be the best woman in his life to show him at least that aspect of life and for grooming. What happens is we get so caught up in worrying about if they got a father figure in the household that we try to be that. We try to be too tough, too hard. And that, I from what I see in men, it kind of does, it can backlash on you. Of course, we don't want our men to be too soft, and we don't want to be like a crutch to our sons. But at the same time, do you really want your sons to look at woman as this tough, gangster, hardcore, sock you up all the time kind of entity? When we want our men to be able to be vulnerable with woman, to get that nurturing, to get that healing from woman, and that love. And sometimes us women, as single mothers, it's hard for us to do that because we're trying so hard to not be too soft, so our men are not being raised to be too soft. And we have to find the balance in that, because it's hindering our spirits, our nurturing, healing spirit. That is us. Of course, we got a warrior spirit too. But that other aspect that is woman, and it's hindering our relationship with our sons. and what they look at when they see women. So that was what that first part meant. And then I say, sometimes I question my sanity, observing humanity with dazed eyes fused with vanity, looking like mannequins ran by the Vatican. Let's talk about that. It can make you crazy once you look around and see what's around you and the sense it makes or doesn't make. I said, question your sanity, observing humanity and how they just look like sometimes they just have dazed eyes, just glazed over, not even here in reality, in control of their reality. They looking like mannequins ran by the Vatican. They pretty much have a strong hold and hand on how the world is ran and what happens across the world. And society, and how society is kind of molded. I won't say too much on the darks and lights of the Roman Catholic Church or the Vatican. Do your own research. But they have a strong hold in the molding of society. And I look at people and sometimes they're just a mannequin displaying what they were told to sell. You're selling what you're told to sell. You're dressed up as what you're told to be dressed up as, and your insides are just a glaze, like the sunken place. We're gonna talk about that a whole other time. It's a whole other episode. We're gonna get in the sunken place today. But that's what I see sometimes when I look at people, and it makes me feel crazy. Like, I'm seeing this, right? Are you seeing this? Oh, you a mannequin too? Oh no. Right? You're trying to raise a child in this. How do you raise a child and not have them get sucked in to the fakeness and to the surface and just plastic of the world and what it's telling you to be, what it's telling you to represent? And then after that I say, asking then, will I ever be able to raise a Luke when his daddy's an Anakin? So now that brings together the entire sequence or the setup, and with the punch being relevant to Star Wars. If you don't know who Anakin and Luke is, the Queen and Anakin had some twins, and one of them was Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker became one of, if not the best or greatest Jedi Master, and Anakin became the greatest Dark Force of the Jedi abilities. He was the representation of the Dark Force that you utilize in your power. And he did a lot of amazing things, but utilizing the Dark Force with dark and evil intent. His son, Luke, was the promised one. He utilized the light. And with that light, conquered all. And he was birthed by a queen. So I had to ask myself, would I be able to raise a Luke while his daddy is an Anakin? And not to talk too much or low on his father, but we both come from the same ways of life. But the difference is I became a mother and I changed mine. He consumed himself in darkness. And I'm not just calling the streets darkness, but your intent and how you move and the energy that you choose to move through is light or darkness. And he chose darkness. And it gives me a fear sometimes, or it used to. It used to really bother me, like, is there anything that I can do with growing his seed and it still be a representation of light? Will he still blossom into a fruit of light and conquer all? Or will he be of his father and be consumed in his darkness? So that's what that meant. And then on top of that, those of you who are Star Wars fans, you understand that Star Wars broke down a lot of politics on top of spirituality, on top of just the secret societies and all of that kind of stuff. And the Dark Force had a lot to do with the breaking down, the coming down of the system, the government system. And they had a lot of people backdooring the Jedi Masters and the people and the citizens. And things were really crashing down. And they had the Jedis had to help fight and save that, while the Dark Force was really the cause of it, and all in the midst of their political makeup. So I wanted to kind of put that in there, you know, while I talked about the Vatican and mannequins and all of that, and the Star Wars had a lot to do with that. Like I said, go back and watch it if you like, but it talks a lot about what the metaphorical aspect of it is spirituality and politics and the government system. So this piece, or this part of my heavy heart, was how do I raise a child in a system like this? How can I raise a Luke if his daddy's an Anakin? When people running around fused with vanity, looking like mannequins, ran by the Vatican. And even when I say fused with vanity, like everybody's like, what do I look like? What do I look like? Do I look like what I'm supposed to look like? Do I have on what I'm supposed to have on? Do I possess what I'm supposed to possess? It's all outward. It's all outward sourced in rather than what's inside and what's real. What really resonates with you? What's your natural skill? Who are you? Or are you just looking like Vatican, looking like mannequins ran by the Vatican? Making me ask when. Anyway. So that was that. That was part 2 and maybe even part 3 of that episode, Raising a Man. Peace to you all. Layers.